The lights in the medical bay flickered softly as Dr. Kira moved between the floating screens that showed her patient's vital signs. The numbers were all wrong. Everything was getting worse, and she knew it. "How long does she have?" asked Tor, his voice shaking. The tall, blue-skinned Alterian stood beside the medical bed where his mate lay unconscious. His forearms wrapped around himself in the way his people did when they were scared. Dr. Kira looked at the screens again. She was one of the best doctors in the galaxy, but right now she felt helpless. "Maybe 6 hours," she said quietly, "maybe less." Lyra lay still on the white medical bed. Her silver skin had turned a sickly gray color, and her breathing was shallow. The blockage in her mammary ducts had caused a massive infection. Toxins were building up in her blood, and her body was shutting down. "There has to be something," Tor whispered. "Some treatment, some surgery, something." Dr. Kira had heard this before. Every family member said the same thing when facing the impossible. But this time she wished she had better news. "We've tried everything," she said. Dr. Nex used the molecular probe 3 times. Dr. Vash attempted the thermal clearing procedure. Even Dr. Wren brought in the new quantum surgical unit from the research lab. All the best alien doctors on the station had failed. The problem was simple but deadly. Lyra's mammary ducts were completely blocked with crystallized deposits. It was a condition that had become common among Alterian females after their species began living in space. Ships and stations. The change from their home planet's gravity to artificial gravity had affected their biology in unexpected ways. Their ducts, which were already smaller than most species, had become even more delicate. What should have been a minor medical issue had become a death sentence. "The equipment is too big," Dr. Kira explained to the medical team that had gathered around Lyra's bed. "Even our smallest instruments cause tissue damage. The deposits are too complex for the automated systems to handle." Dr. Nex, a spider-like creature with multiple eyes, clicked his mandibles in frustration. "The quantum surgical unit should have worked. It can operate at the molecular level. But it's not precise enough," Dr. Kira said. "The blockage has created a network of crystallized branches. Each piece connects to others. If we remove them in the wrong order, we'll cause more damage." Dr. Vash, whose tentacles moved nervously as she spoke, added, "The thermal clearing made it worse. The heat caused the deposits to spread deeper into the tissue." The medical team had spent 12 hours working on Lyra. They had used every piece of advanced technology on the station. The molecular probes, the thermal units, the quantum surgical equipment, the bio-reconstruction chambers. Nothing worked. "Her body is rejecting all artificial intervention," Dr. Kira said, reading the latest test results. "The Alterian immune system is attacking our medical nanobots. Every time we try to help, we make the infection worse." Tor's large eyes filled with tears. "So you're giving up?" "We're not giving up," Dr. Kira said firmly. "But we've reached the limits of what our medical science can do." The medical bay fell silent except for the soft beeping of the life support systems. Outside the large windows, stars moved slowly past as the station orbited a distant planet. The Mercy's Edge was known throughout the galaxy as the best medical facility in space. If they couldn't save Lyra, nobody could. Dr. Kira looked at her. Patient again. Lyra was young, maybe 25 in human years. She had a whole life ahead of her, a family that loved her, dreams and hopes that would die with her. "I need to prepare the family notification," Dr. Kira said to her team, "and contact the Alterian embassy. They'll want to arrange for transport of the body." "Wait," Dr. Nex said, his multiple eyes focusing on something behind Dr. Kira. "Someone else is here." Dr. Kira turned around. At the entrance to the medical bay stood a human male. He was tall but not giant, with brown hair and simple work clothes. She recognized him as one of the station's maintenance workers, though she didn't know his name. "I'm sorry," Dr. Kira said. "This is a restricted area. Only medical personnel are allowed." The human didn't move. He was looking at Lyra with a strange expression on his face. "I've been listening," he said quietly. "I know I shouldn't have. But I heard what you were saying about the blockage." "Please leave," Dr. Vash said, her tentacles waving in annoyance. This is a medical emergency. I know, the human said. That's why I'm here. He looked directly at Dr. Kira. I might be able to help. Dr. Nex made a clicking sound that was the equivalent of laughter among his people. You're a maintenance worker. This is advanced alien medicine. I know what I am, the human said calmly, but I also know what I can do. Dr. Kira studied the human's face. There was something in his eyes, a quiet confidence that she recognized. It was the same look she had seen in the mirror when she was a young doctor, before years of impossible cases had worn her down. What's your name? She asked. Jake, he replied. Jake Morrison. I've been working on this station for 3 years. And you think you can succeed where the best medical minds in the galaxy have failed? Jake looked at Lyra again, then back at Dr. Kira. I think I can try a different approach. Something none of you have considered. The medical team exchanged glances. The idea was absurd. A human maintenance worker helping with advanced alien surgery? It was like asking a child to fix a starship engine. But as Dr. Kira looked at Jake, she remembered something her mentor had told her long ago. When all the advanced solutions fail, sometimes you need to go back to basics. What exactly are you proposing? She asked. Jake stepped closer to the medical bed. I'd like to examine the patient. With your permission, of course? Dr. Kira hesitated. Every instinct told her this was a waste of time. But Lyra was dying, and they had no other options. 5 minutes, she said finally. But don't touch anything without my permission? Jake nodded and moved to Lyra's bedside. As he began to study the medical displays, Dr. Kira wondered if she was making a terrible mistake. But sometimes, when facing the impossible, the only choice was to try something that had never been tried before. Time was running out, and a human maintenance worker was their last hope. Jake moved slowly around the medical bed, his eyes studying every screen and display. The alien doctors watched him with a mixture of curiosity and doubt. Dr. Kira tapped her foot impatiently as the seconds ticked by. Time's up, she said after 5 minutes. What did you see? Jake rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The blockage isn't just one piece, it's like a tree with many branches. Each branch connects to others, creating a network inside the ducts. Doctor. Nex clicked his mandibles. We already know this. Our scans showed the same thing. But did you see the pattern? Jake asked. The way the deposits formed? They didn't just appear randomly. They grew in a specific sequence. Dr. Vash's tentacles moved in annoyance. Of course they grew in sequence. All crystal formations follow natural laws. That's exactly my point, Jake said. If they grew in a specific order, they need to be removed in a specific order too. But backwards, Dr. Kira frowned. Our quantum surgical unit can target individual deposits. It should be able to remove them in any order we choose. Should be, Jake agreed. But it's not working because the machine is trying to be too precise. It's like trying to untangle a knot with a hammer. The medical team exchanged glances. Dr. Wren, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Are you suggesting our technology is inadequate? I'm suggesting it's the wrong tool for the job, Jake replied calmly. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the right solution. Dr. Kira crossed her arms. And what makes you think you have the right solution? Jake looked at her steadily. Because I've spent my life fixing things that nobody else could fix. Before I came to this station, I was a master craftsman on Earth. I specialized in precision clockwork and microengineering. Clockwork? Dr. Nex laughed. You're comparing advanced alien biology to primitive mechanical devices? No, Jake said. I'm comparing precision work to precision work. The tools change, but the principles remain the same. Dr. Kira studied Jake's face. There was no arrogance in his expression, no false confidence. Just the quiet certainty of someone who knew exactly what they were capable of. Show me, she said suddenly. What? Show me this precision work you're talking about. Prove you can do what you claim. Jake looked around the medical bay. His eyes stopped on a damaged scanner that sat on a side table. What's wrong with that? Unit? Internal components are misaligned, Dr. Vash said. The molecular calibration is off by 0.003 degrees. It's scheduled for factory repair, may I? Jake asked. Dr. Kira nodded. Jake picked up the scanner and examined it carefully. Then he reached into his tool belt and pulled out a small device that looked like a modified screwdriver. That's a basic maintenance tool, Dr. Wren said dismissively. You can't repair molecular calibration with primitive equipment. Jake didn't respond. He opened the scanner's housing and peered inside. The alien doctors watched as he began to make tiny adjustments with his simple tool. His movements were smooth and confident, like a musician playing a familiar song. The alignment is controlled by these microsprings, Jake explained as he worked. They're connected to the main calibration ring. When the ring shifts, it throws off the entire system. We know how it works, Dr. Nex said impatiently. The question is whether you can fix it. Jake made one final adjustment and closed the housing. He activated the scanner and handed it to Dr. Kira. Check the calibration. Dr. Kira connected the scanner to the main medical system. The readout showed perfect alignment. Not just within acceptable parameters, but completely perfect. How did you do that? She asked, staring at the display. I felt the resistance in the springs, Jake said simply. The machine can measure the misalignment, but it can't feel how much pressure is needed to correct it. That requires touch. Dr. Vash's tentacles stopped moving. You're saying you can feel molecular-level adjustments? I'm saying human hands can sense things that machines can't, Jake replied. We evolved to use tools, to feel the difference between right and wrong through our fingertips. Dr. Kira looked at the perfectly calibrated scanner, then at Jake. You really think you can help Lyra? I think I can try something different, Jake said. Your machines are trying to cut and burn their way through the blockage. But what if we don't need to cut at all? What do you mean? Jake moved back to Lyra's bedside. The deposits form naturally, following the body's own patterns. What if we work with those patterns instead of against them? That's impossible, Dr. Wren said. The deposits are solid crystal. They can't be dissolved or softened. Maybe not with heat or chemicals, Jake agreed. But what about vibration? Controlled pressure? What if we could convince the deposits to break down the same way they built up? Dr. Kira felt a spark of hope. You're talking about a completely different approach. I'm talking about treating the patient like a delicate mechanism instead of a broken machine, Jake said. Sometimes the gentlest touch is the most effective. Dr. Nex made another clicking sound. Even if your theory is correct, you don't have the tools for such precise work. Jake smiled for the first time since entering the medical bay. Actually, I do. I just need to modify them a bit. He reached into his tool belt and pulled out several small instruments. To the alien doctors, they looked like crude maintenance tools, but Jake saw them differently. He saw precision instruments that could be adapted for delicate work. Give me 2 hours, Jake said. I'll create the tools I need. Then, if you're willing, I'd like to try to save Lyra's life. Dr. Kira looked at Tor, who had been listening to everything with growing hope in his eyes. She looked at her medical team, who were clearly skeptical but had no better options. Finally, she looked at Lyra, whose breathing was getting weaker. 2 hours, she said, but I'll be monitoring everything you do. Jake nodded. I wouldn't have it any other way. As he left the medical bay to prepare his tools, Dr. Kira wondered if she was making the right choice. But sometimes, when facing the impossible, the only option was to trust in the impossible. A human maintenance worker was about to attempt what the best alien doctors in the galaxy couldn't do. And somehow that felt like their best hope. Jake sat in the maintenance workshop, surrounded by tools and spare parts. The workshop was quiet except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. He had spread out everything he thought he might need on the metal workbench. 2 hours wasn't much time, but Jake had worked under pressure before. He picked up a small vibration tool used for loosening stuck bolts. With careful movements, he began to modify it, removing the heavy outer casing and exposing the delicate vibration mechanism inside. This could work, he muttered to himself, examining the tiny motor. Just need to adjust the frequency. Back in the medical bay, Dr. Kira paced nervously. Lyra's condition was getting worse. The toxin levels in her blood were rising, and her breathing was becoming more labored. "We should contact her family," Dr. Vash said quietly. "Let them say goodbye." "Not yet," Dr. Kira replied firmly. "We still have time." Dr. Nex's multiple eyes focused on the door. "You really think that human can help?" "I think he's our only option left," Dr. Kira said. "Did you see how he fixed that scanner?" His hands were steady as a surgeon's. "But he's not a surgeon, Doctor," Ren pointed out. "He's a maintenance worker with no medical training. Maybe that's exactly what we need," Dr. Kira said. "Someone who thinks differently about problems." In the workshop, Jake was making progress. He had created 3 small tools from modified maintenance equipment. The first was the vibration device, now adjusted to work at much lower frequencies. The second was a pressure sensor made from a flow gauge used in the station's water systems. The third was a tiny probe created from a fiber optic cable. "Let's see if this works," Jake said, testing the vibration tool on a piece of metal. The vibrations were so gentle they were barely visible, but he could feel them through his fingertips. Jake had studied the medical scans for over an hour, memorizing every detail of Lyra's condition. The blockage was complex, like a 3-dimensional puzzle made of crystal. But Jake had solved complex puzzles before. The key was understanding how the deposits had formed. They hadn't appeared all at once. They had grown slowly, each piece building. On the last, the oldest deposits were at the center, surrounded by newer layers. It was like looking at the rings of a tree. If they grew from the inside out, Jake reasoned, then they should come apart from the outside in. But the alien doctors had tried to remove the deposits with cutting tools and heat. That was like trying to dismantle a house by breaking the walls. Jake's approach would be different. He would convince the deposits to separate naturally. Jake returned to the medical bay carrying his modified tools. The alien doctors gathered around as he set up his equipment. His tools looked primitive compared to the advanced medical devices surrounding them. "These are your precision instruments?" Dr. Nex asked skeptically. "They're exactly what I need," Jake replied. "Sometimes the simplest tools are the most effective." Dr. Kira checked Lyra's vital signs again. "Her blood pressure is dropping." "We don't have much time," Jake nodded and moved to the bedside. He studied the medical displays one more time, then looked at Lyra's unconscious face. "I'm going to help you," he said quietly. "Just hold on a little longer." He picked up his modified probe and carefully inserted it into the blocked duct. The alien doctors watched the displays as the probe moved deeper into the tissue. Jake's movements were slow and deliberate, guided by what he could feel through the probe. "There," he said, stopping at a specific point. "This is where the newest deposits are located. They're the weakest part of the structure." Jake activated his vibration tool. The device began to pulse at a frequency so low it was almost silent. He pressed it gently against Lyra's skin, directly over the blockage. "What are you doing?" Dr. Vash asked. "I'm trying to match the natural frequency of the crystal deposits," Jake explained. "Every material has a resonant frequency. When you hit that frequency, the material becomes unstable." On the medical displays, they could see the probe moving slightly as the vibrations traveled through the tissue. Jake watched the readouts carefully, adjusting the frequency based on what he was seeing. "It's not working," Dr. Wren said after several minutes. "The deposits are still there." "Be patient," Jake said calmly. "This takes time. The deposits didn't form overnight, and they won't disappear instantly." Jake continued his work, moving the vibration tool to different positions. He was following a pattern, starting with the newest deposits and working his way inward. His pressure sensor helped him know exactly how much force to apply. "Wait," Dr. Kira said suddenly. "Look at the display." On the screen they could see tiny particles breaking away from the main blockage. The deposits were beginning to crumble, just as Jake had predicted. "It's working," Dr. Vash whispered in amazement. Jake smiled but didn't stop his work. "The outer layer is breaking down." Now I need to get to deeper deposits. He adjusted his probe, moving it to a new position. The vibration tool continued. Its gentle pulsing, working in harmony with Lyra's own body rhythms. Jake was treating the blockage like a delicate clock mechanism, applying just the right amount of pressure in just the right places. How did you know this would work? Dr. Kira asked. I didn't, Jake admitted, but I understood the principle. The deposits form naturally, following the body's own patterns. I just had to find a way to reverse that process. More particles began to break away. The blockage was slowly dissolving, piece by piece. Jake's patient, methodical approach was succeeding where advanced alien technology had failed. The toxin levels are starting to drop, Dr. Nex reported, his voice filled with surprise. Jake nodded but kept working. We're not done yet. The deepest deposits are still there, and they're the most dangerous ones. As he worked, Jake talked to Lyra, even though she couldn't hear him. You're doing great, he said softly. Just a little bit more, and you'll be fine. The alien doctors watched in fascination as a human maintenance worker performed what could only be described as a miracle. His simple tools and gentle touch were accomplishing what their most advanced equipment couldn't do. Almost there, Jake, Sud, making final adjustments to his vibration tool. You just need to clear the central core. On the displays, they could see the last of the major deposits beginning to break apart. Lyra's breathing was becoming stronger, and her skin color was improving. Jake had proven that sometimes the most advanced solution wasn't the right solution. Sometimes all you needed was a different way of thinking about the problem. Jake could feel the change through his fingertips. The vibration tool was working differently now, meeting less resistance as the deposits continued to break down, but something was still wrong. The central blockage was stubborn, refusing to dissolve like the outer layers. The core deposits are older, Jake said, studying the medical displays. They're harder and more tightly packed. The vibration alone isn't enough. Dr. Kira watched Lyra's vital signs improve slowly. Her breathing is getting better, but the toxin levels are still too high. We need to clear the central blockage completely. What do you suggest? Dr. Nex asked, his multiple eyes focused on Jake. Jake set down his vibration tool and looked at his hands. I think I need to try something different. Something more direct. Direct how? Dr. Vash asked nervously. Manual pressure, Jake said simply. Sometimes the gentlest touch is the most effective. Dr. Wren's tentacles moved in alarm. You want to use your hands? That's completely against medical protocol. Your protocols aren't working, Jake replied calmly. This patient needs something that machines can't provide. Dr. Kira hesitated. Everything in her medical training told her this was wrong. But everything in her experience told her that Jake might be right. What exactly are you proposing? She asked. Jake moved closer to Lyra's bedside. The remaining deposits need to be massaged out, like working a knot out of a rope. But it has to be done very carefully, with the right amount of pressure in the right places. That's impossible, Doctor. Nex said, the ducts are too small. Human hands are too large and clumsy. Maybe, Jake said. But human hands can feel things that your instruments can't. We can sense exactly how much pressure to apply. He looked down at Lyra's unconscious face. Her breathing was shallow but steady. I need to talk to her, he said. Suddenly, she's unconscious, Dr. Vash pointed out. Maybe, but people can hear things even when they're unconscious. She needs to know she's not alone. Jake pulled up a chair beside the medical bed. As he began to position his hands, he started talking to Lyra in a quiet, steady voice. Hi there, he said softly. My name is Jake. I'm here to help you feel better. I know you're scared, but you're going to be okay. The alien doctors watched in confusion as Jake continued talking while he worked. His hands moved with incredible gentleness, applying pressure in tiny, careful movements. I'm from a planet called Earth, Jake continued. It's a blue and green world with big oceans and mountains. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other. My father was a craftsman too, and he taught me that every problem has a solution if you're patient enough to find it. Dr. Kira monitored the medical displays as Jake worked. She could see the remaining deposits beginning to shift under his gentle pressure. It was working, but very slowly. The key is not to force it, Jake explained to the doctors while still talking to Lyra. You have to work with the body's natural rhythms. Feel how the tissue responds and adjust accordingly. But how do you know where to apply pressure? Dr. Nex asked. Jake paused in his work. I can feel it. The blockage creates tension in the surrounding tissue. My hands can sense that tension and find the exact spots where pressure will be most effective. He resumed his gentle massage, his voice never stopping. You know, Lyra, where I come from, we have a saying, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. It means that when things seem hopeless, that's often when help is closest. Tor, who had been watching silently, stepped closer. Is she really going to be okay? Jake looked up at him with confident eyes. She's going to be fine. Her body is strong and she's fighting hard. She just needs a little help. As Jake worked, something remarkable happened. The cold, clinical atmosphere of the medical bay began to change. The alien doctors found themselves drawn into Jake's gentle conversation with Lyra. His caring words and patient approach created a sense of warmth and hope that had been missing. I have a sister back on Earth, Jake continued, his hands still working their gentle magic. She's about your age, and she's one of the strongest people I know. She taught me that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply not give up. Dr. Kira watched the displays in amazement. The central blockage was finally beginning to dissolve. Jake's combination of precise pressure and patient care was succeeding where all their advanced technology had failed. The toxin levels are dropping rapidly, Dr. Vash reported, her tentacles moving with excitement. Her breathing is getting stronger, Dr. Nex added, his clicking sounds now expressing wonder rather than skepticism. Jake smiled but didn't stop. His work. That's it, Lyra. You're doing great. Just a little bit more and you'll be back to normal. His hands continued their gentle massage, working out the last of the stubborn deposits. But more than that, his presence seemed to be healing something deeper. The medical bay felt different now, filled with hope and human warmth. How do you do it? Dr. Kira asked quietly. How do you make this look so easy? Jake looked up at her, while his hands continued their work. It's not easy. But when you truly care about helping someone, you find a way. That's what humans do. We don't give up on each other. Suddenly, Lyra's eyes fluttered open. She looked around in confusion, then focused on Jake's face. Who are you? She whispered weakly. Jake smiled down at her. I'm Jake. I'm here to help. How are you feeling? Better, Lyra said, her voice growing stronger. Much better. What happened? You were sick, Jake explained gently. But you're going to be okay now. The worst is over. Tor rushed to his mates. Sighed, his forearms wrapping around her carefully. I thought I was going to lose you, he said, tears streaming down his blue face. I'm here, Lyra said softly. I'm okay. Dr. Kira checked the final readings. The blockage is completely cleared. Toxin levels are back to normal. It's a complete recovery. Jake finally removed his hands and sat back in his chair. She need to rest, but she should be fine now. The alien doctors stared at him in amazement. This human maintenance worker had accomplished something they thought was impossible. He had saved a life using nothing but gentle touch, patient care, and the refusal to give up. How can we thank you? Tor asked, his voice full of gratitude. Jake stood up and began gathering his simple tools. Just take care of each other. That's all the thanks I need. As he prepared to leave, Dr. Kira stopped him. Jake, what you did here today, it changes everything. You've shown us something we forgot about healing. Jake paused at the door. What's that? That sometimes the most advanced medicine is simply caring enough to try. 3 days had passed since Jake saved Lyra's life. Word of what happened had spread throughout the station like wildfire. Everywhere Jake went, people stopped to look at him. Some stared in amazement, others in respect, and a few in disbelief. Jake tried to go about his normal work, but nothing felt normal anymore. In the maintenance tunnels, he found alien crew members waiting for him with questions about broken equipment that their own specialists couldn't fix. "Jake," called Dr. Kira as she found him replacing a power coupling in Corridor 7. "I need to talk to you." Jake looked up from his work. "Is Lyra okay? Any complications?" "She's perfect," Dr. Kira smiled. "Better than perfect, actually. Her recovery has been faster than we expected, but that's not why I'm here." Jake sat down, his tools, and faced her. "What's on your mind, Doc?" "The station commander wants to meet with you. And there's been a message from the Galactic Medical Council. They want to know everything about your procedure." Jake frowned. "I'm not a doctor. I just helped one patient." "You did something that none of us could do," Dr. Kira said seriously. "The medical community needs to understand how and why it worked." Later that day, Jake found himself in the station commander's office. Commander Brix was a tall, gray-skinned alien with wise eyes and a calm manner. Behind his desk hung certificates and awards from dozens of different worlds. "Sit down, Jake," Commander Brix said. "We have much to discuss." Jake took a seat in the large chair. "Sir, I hope I didn't break any rules." "I know I'm not qualified to do medical work," Commander Brix smiled. "You're not in trouble. Quite the opposite, actually. Do you know what's been happening since news of your success reached other stations?" "No." "Sir, I've received 17 requests for human medical consultants. Stations across the galaxy are asking for humans who can think the way you think." Jake was quiet for a moment. "I'm not sure I understand." "Let me explain," Commander Brix said, activating a holographic display. "For centuries, galactic medicine has focused on technology. Better scanners, more precise instruments, stronger drugs. We believed that advanced technology was always the answer." The display showed images of complex medical equipment from dozens of different worlds. "But you proved something important," Commander Brix continued. "Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the right solution. Sometimes what's needed is a different way of thinking about the problem." "I just used what I knew," Jake said simply. "Exactly. And what you knew came from being human. Your species has a unique approach to problem solving. You combine technical skill with intuition, logic with compassion." Commander Brix touched a control, and the display changed to show medical statistics. "Since your procedure, Dr. Kira has been teaching your techniques to other doctors. They've already used similar methods to help 12 more patients with different conditions." Jake's eyes widened. "Really? Really, and that's just the beginning. The Galactic Medical Council wants to create a new program. They're calling it Human-Assisted Medicine." The display showed a proposal document with Jake's name at the top. "They want you to lead it," Commander Brix said. "You would train humans from across the galaxy in medical problem solving. Not to replace doctors, but to work alongside them." Jake stared at the display. "I'm just a maintenance worker." "You're a human being," Commander Brix corrected. "And that makes you uniquely qualified for this work." A soft chime indicated someone was at the door. "Come in," Commander Brix called. Dr. Kira entered with Lyra and Tor. Lyra looked completely healthy, her silver skin bright and her eyes clear. She was carrying a small bundle in her arms. "Jake," Lyra said, approaching his chair, "I wanted you to meet someone." She carefully unwrapped the bundle to reveal a tiny baby with the same silver skin and large eyes as her mother. "This is my daughter," Lyra said softly. "She was born yesterday." Jake looked at the baby in wonder. "She's beautiful." "Her name is Jayla," Tor said, his forearms gesturing proudly. "It's as close as we can get to Jake in our language." Jake felt tears forming in his eyes. "You named her after me?" "You saved both our lives," Lyra said. "If you hadn't helped me, neither of us would be here." Jayla opened her tiny eyes and looked directly at Jake. He reached out with one finger, and she grabbed it with her small hand. "She likes you," Tor observed with a smile. Dr. Kira stepped forward. "Jake, I've been thinking about what you said in the medical bay, about not giving up on each other. I think that's what makes humans special." "How so?" "Other species focus on efficiency, logic, technological advancement, but humans focus on caring for each other. That caring drives you to find solutions that Others miss, Commander Brix nodded. That's why this program is so important. The galaxy needs to learn from human compassion and determination. Jake looked around the room at all the faces watching him expectantly. What would I have to do? Travel to different stations and planets, Commander Brix explained. Work with medical teams on difficult cases. Teach them to think like humans. Show them that sometimes the simplest approach is the most effective. And you train other humans too, Dr. Kira added. People like you who can see problems differently. Jake thought about his quiet life as a maintenance worker. It was simple and peaceful, but not very exciting. This new opportunity would be challenging and meaningful. Would I still be able to fix things? He asked. Commander Brix laughed. You'd be fixing the most important things of all, lives. Jake looked down at baby Jayla, who was still holding his finger. I guess I could try it. Is that a yes? Dr. Kira asked hopefully. That's a yes, Jake said with a smile. 3 months later, Jake stood in the main auditorium of the station. Before him sat an audience of doctors, medical students, and humans who had volunteered for the new program. He was about to give his first official lecture. Good morning, Jake said into the microphone. My name is Jake Morrison, and I'm here to talk about a simple idea that every problem has a solution if you care enough to find it. In the front row, Dr. Kira smiled proudly. Behind her sat Lyra and Tor with baby Jayla, who was growing bigger and healthier every day. The most important tool in medicine isn't a scanner or a surgical device, Jake continued. It's the willingness to never give up on the people who need our help. The audience listened intently as Jake began to share his philosophy of human-centered problem solving. He talked about patience, intuition, and the power of gentle touch. He explained how caring for others could drive innovation and creativity. Remember, Jake concluded, we're not trying to replace advanced technology. We're trying to remind everyone that behind every medical case is a living being who deserves our best effort. The applause was thunderous. As Jake left the stage, he felt proud of what he had accomplished. He had started as a simple maintenance worker, but he had become something more important. A bridge between human compassion and galactic medicine. The universe was a big place, full of different species and advanced technologies. But sometimes, the most powerful force of all was a human being who refused to give up. Jake's work was just beginning, and the galaxy was ready to learn from humanity's greatest strength, the simple act of caring for each other.